So we had traded emails, and I believe the need is around self-service password reset. So that's what today's focus will be on. What you see on the screen right now is our suite of products that fall under identity and access management. So I do like to point that out that beyond self-service password reset, password synchronization, there is a full suite of other solutions that you can leverage. Ranging from identity access management specifically for user provisioning, for the onboarding and offboarding process, allowing users to request additional access. We have some group management tools to help automate that process, allowing the end user population to create groups, distribution lists, and so forth. And then we also have a group enforcer tool that helps manage those groups by rules, creating rules off of Active Directory HR that adds and removes people from groups. And then the last piece is our compliance solution, which is for access certification attestation. So who has access to what? Are they supposed to have that access? And then we can send that out to like an auditor or reviewer for removal or remediation. So I can dive into those a little bit more. Like I said, it is a modular suite. We do install the entire suite, but if you wanted to add something later on, because we already have that integration with Active Directory or maybe some other connected systems, we could do so. So I won't spend any more time on that. I will be focusing on the password station, the help desk, the audit log, and the reports. My plan for today is to take you through the end user experience, go through some different enrollment options, some tools and techniques that we have to get better utilization within the tool. I'll jump into the help desk module, the audit log and reporting, and then we'll wrap it up with the configuration. So if that's okay with you, we'll dive into it. If you have any questions, just let me know. It's just the two of us, so I'm happy to accommodate. Before I jump,
okay, great stuff.
Before I jump right into our product, if I just go out and Google Password Station, you may have done this before. There's a variety of organizations that you'll see, some more common than others, that use our tool. I like to point this out because our solution is supported in 30 different languages. This is, Starbucks is elected to use a language selection page, and then it takes them to their, portal where a user would be prompted to put in their global user ID. This is important not only from, different languages that we support, but the brandability. So when I jump into the actual demo environment that I'll be showing you today, that is essentially what it would look like out of the box. So just keep in mind that there's a branding feature within the tool that will allow you to make it your own look and feel, use a language dropdown or a language selection page, ultimately getting that user comfortable with the tool so that adoption rate increases. So we can make this look just like, MakerStudy, however you want to present it to your end user population. So in order to use the tool, a user must first enroll. What we strongly encourage is leveraging our email templates, our reminders. We actually have a forced enrollment feature that we can deploy on the Windows logon page that basically gives the users, a countdown that encourages them to click on the link, provide some instructions, and quickly go through the enrollment process. By them doing it on their own, really gives them, insight on the tool. They're familiar with it, and they're more likely to use it down the road in the event they do get locked out or need to reset their password. With that being said, we've got a lot of reports that we can generate on who's enrolled, who's not enrolled, so that we can target those specific users that have not by contacting their manager, using some sort of internal marketing, however you'd like to do that. With that also being said, we also have a mass enrollment feature, so that if you do have some predefined questions and answers that you can populate for your user community, we can actually mass enroll the users so that when the first time they do hit that portal, they would actually answer those questions. They would be able to update those questions with new questions, change their password, and away they go. Because you notice when I go through the self-enrollment process here, the first time you enroll, you do need to know what your password is. So let's assume a user got an email, they hit the, your Password Station portal, they're getting ready to go through the enrollment process. They would be presented with a page that looks similar to something like this. So you saw the others, the Starbucks and the Marriott's that I showed you how different they are. This is what it would typically look like out of the box, so it is fully brandable. The user would be prompted to put in their user ID, and then they would agree to the terms and conditions or continue. They would then be presented with some quick instructions. Again, this could read what you would like, essentially encouraging the user they must first enroll, answer some security questions. Okay. So the first time you enroll, like I said, they do need to know what their password is. This is obviously a security measure because if I know what your user ID was, I could essentially enroll on your behalf. Once I've provided my password, I'm presented with my security questions. Now, by default, we present 3 security questions. By configuration, we can present anywhere from 1 through 7. The questions, we ship with roughly 80 questions out of the box that you can choose to use. You can also retire any of those questions, and as an administrator, you can also create your own questions as well. So we will work with you through best practices in identifying questions that are good for your user base, that are long-term in nature, that really shouldn't change or should only have one answer, that aren't easily socially engineered. So we've got a list of questions that we can work through with that. The third question here, or the last question in this case, is what we call the semi-private question. This question may be asked in the event a user calls into the help desk. So when I get to that help desk piece, I'll kind of remind you of that. It'll make a little bit more sense. So I'll provide some quick answers here. Just for the purpose of the demo. We do have a variety of different rules that we can set up with the answers that are provided, meaning, you can't have repeating answers, not the ability to, have answer the same question. We also have the capability of having a minimum length to those answers, certain patterns, so that would prevent these questions from easily being socially engineered. One other thing I did want to point out about the questions as well is that you can assign different sets of questions to different OUs within the organization. So if you had, corporate users that you wanted to have a specific list of questions compared to remote users, you could do so as an example. Yeah. So once I've provided my questions, I'm brought to this next page. This page is doing 2 things. It's confirming the email that we have pulled from Active Directory. This email is specifically used for notifications sent from our tool. And what I mean by that is we have about 35 to 40 different email notifications that you can configure to send out to the user population based on, successfully enrolled, failing to answer their questions, your password is about to expire, your password has expired, you've successfully changed your password. It's completely entirely up to you on how you want to configure those, which ones you want to turn on. You can change the subject line, the message. They're all HTML enabled. The second piece of this is an optional item that you can choose to deploy, and which is our SMS feature, as well as our alternate email address. So I'll use SMS as an example, but basically this can be leveraged down the road for the user to authenticate, either leveraging 2-factor authentication, so answering their questions and providing a code, or giving them the option to select whether they would like to answer their questions or have an SMS code sent to their mobile device or an alternate email. Really over the years we've found that users may not remember their questions, or it's not conducive to every person within your user community, so we give them options on ways of resetting their password. I'm using country and carrier. We do have the capability of setting this up so that we use a third-party provider as well. I've also got this configured so that that's actually my mobile device to send that user a message so that before they continue with the enrollment, we confirm that it is that actual user, and more importantly, the information that they provided is accurate. So that's 1996, and then I can hit continue. We're almost done. The last page here, again, is an optional page. This is basically a phone IVR integration that we have so that a user could still pick up a phone, call into the help desk, but rather than talking to a live person, which we're trying to avoid, they would actually be redirected to an automated recording where they'd be prompted to put in a unique identifier. In this case, I'm using phone number as an example, but it could be anything else, and then a 4 to 10 digit PIN that they use during enrollment. Once they've provided that information, they can actually reset their password or unlock their account. If they were to reset their password, the recording would basically read a new password back to them, spell it out, they could choose to accept it or decline it, and then away they go. So again, another self-service means rather than calling into the help desk, which we're trying to avoid. This is the phone IVR PIN reset. We also have a voice biometric piece where we could actually have them take a voice print and they would be prompted to repeat a series of phrases that they did during the enrollment process. So again, an optional item. If you're not interested, it, or you want to add it later, we could remove this and the user would never be presented this during the enrollment process. That essentially is the procedure. Very simplistic, very straightforward. Should only take a few minutes. It took a little longer with me going through and explaining it. So if I sign out here, a user is now enrolled, and down the road, let's say that they are locked out of their workstation. So if they're locked out of their workstation, they're at the Control-Alt-Delete screen of a Windows-based machine, and they're prompted to put in their password. They don't know what it is. They've been on vacation for 2 weeks. If we have this credential provider deployed, basically we can create a link right here that says, I forgot my password, or click here to reset your password, whatever you would like it to say. And when they click there, assuming they have internet connectivity, this will actually launch a secure browser, the same browser that we just went through for the enrollment process, where they would be prompted for their user ID, and then they would go through the series of answering their questions and resetting their passwords. You cannot navigate anywhere here. You can only close this out, and if they were to do this, it would actually cache the password on the local workstation and allow them to log on. So I'll go through that process here as if I were to put in my user ID just like I was for the enrollment process. I agree, and now since it knows that I'm enrolled, I'm brought to a page where I have some different self-service options. And these are some of the options that we have turned on. We can turn off any of these options, like viewing your account information. We could change the enrollment information that I just went through, so if they wanted to update their questions or their mobile device, they would be prompted to provide their password for this particular item. But these are probably the more common actions that a user is going to take in changing their password, unlocking an account, or most likely forgotten password. So I'll go through forgotten password. If I click forgotten password, the way that I have it configured right now is that OR methodology. I'm giving the user the option to answer their questions or have an SMS code sent to their mobile device, similar to what I did during the enrollment procedure. We can have it just questions, we can have it just SMS, or we could have it two-factor questions and SMS. I'll start with the questions because that's a little bit more common. I'll purposely mistype the first question to point out several things. One, you'll notice I can't get to the second question or the third question until I successfully answer the previous question. So they're cascaded to prevent people from coming out and trying to gather your questions and socially engineer the answers. All the actions I've taken up to this place and moving forward are kept track of in our audit log, which can be filtered, searched. We've got a variety of reports. We have SIM integration that you could do to integrate with like a Splunk or a more advanced reporting tool, as well as open and close tickets within your existing ticketing system through SMTP integration. The second thing that I'll point out is that by configuration, I can have an email notification sent to this end user letting them know that they mistyped their question. And as well as by configuration, after X amount of failed attempts, so for example, 5 attempts, 3 attempts, whatever you want to set it to, we can actually unenroll this user in notified administrator. So again, a security measure to prevent someone from coming in here and just trying to guess what the answers to their questions are until they get them right. So I'll come in here and provide the correct answers. And now I'm prompted with a page that would look something like this, maybe a little bit different in everyone's environment. But I have Clean as my Active Directory account, so you can kind of think of that as your hub account. And then I have some other connected systems as like spoke accounts. So they're linked or mapped to this hub account, which I have an AS400, I have a custom SQL app, and I have an Oracle Internet Directory. I know the scope of your project right now is just AD only, but we do have about 100 different connectors that we support out of the box, so this will allow a user to come in and synchronize their password across multiple systems. And we also have custom database applications, custom scripting applications, so if there are some homegrown solutions that you want to integrate with, we could do so. So what I would kind of encourage you to do, if you have any sort of metrics on the volume of incoming calls right now, what they're associated to, whether it be AD, other solutions, that's where we would want to start. We would get the biggest bang for our buck in synchronizing those passwords from one central portal, and now the user only has one password to remember. So we can also allow them, we could gray this out, or we could allow them to check the particular applications that they want to reset their password on. So if I hit continue here, I'm now prompted to put in, create a new password. So I'll specifically put in a weak password to point out our password bouncer tool. So one of the things that password bouncer can do is allow you to set granular levels of password policy beyond your existing, AD domain policy. And that could range from minimum length, maximum length, forcing certain characters, eliminating certain patterns or strings, certain dictionary words. Very simplistic to set up. And basically what this is doing is dynamically telling you where you fell short in meeting that password complexity policy. So if I put in a password that is strong and hit continue, what's basically happening now is asynchronously it's going out to those connected systems that I had checked. I believe I had 3 of them, and resetting my password, and then it'll come back letting me know whether that was a success or a failure. So in this case, all 3 of these applications were reset. My password is the same on all of these, and I'm good to go. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. Did you want me to show you the SMS or any other action items within the password station, like the account information? We can allow them to view just kind of general information on their account, and of course you can obviously turn any of these buttons off.
Yeah, just can I just see the SMS just working?
Sure. So I just need to sign out since I'm already logged in. So again, I'll hit the portal. I'll come in, put in my user ID, agree. I'll say I forgot my password. I'll select the SMS in this case. I'll hit continue, and it's actually going to automatically just send me a code. If for whatever reason I don't get one, I could hit the resend button, but you may have just heard it beep there. And it's 3885, so I put in 3885. I hit continue, and then I'm brought back to this same page where then I would create a new password just like I did before.
Yeah. Okay.
So pretty straightforward. The phone IVR is another option. I've actually got a recording. If you wanted to hear what that could sound like, I can play it for you. It's entirely up to you.
No. Well, yeah. Go on then. Actually, while we're here, we might as well hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Just bear with me for a moment. I just need to pull up another. Let me see here. I apologize. I didn't have it pulled up. Let me don't know where it went.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, I usually had it on my desktop. I must have moved it off. I'll look for it here at the end of the call. Actually, this should be where it's at. Well, let's continue on, and I'll pull it up here at the end of the call. I apologize. I was cleaning my desktop up, and apparently I cleaned it up too well. So that's the end user experience. That's the help or the end user enrollment, the capability of resetting your password. Also built into the tool is what we have is our help desk module. So you'll see that I'm logged in as the demo admin. So not everyone will have access to this. This is obviously what we're trying to avoid, but it's inevitable that there's going to be some extenuating circumstances. People are going to call into the help desk, and we're going to need to help them out. So you may have some procedures already that you're doing to verify a user's identity, but we also have that capability here, which keeps it in a nice consolidated audit log that we can report on and allow a user to or a help desk personnel to reset the password across other multiple systems. So if Hunter were to call into the help desk and said, hey, I forgot my password, the help desk could actually enter in their user ID, which Hunter would provide. They would hit continue, and they would now be prompted with a page that could look similar to this. So there's some limited capabilities that we would give the help desk staff to act upon prior to the user verifying their identity. So, for example, the help desk could view their audit log. So, what's been going on with this account? Does it match up with what this person's been telling me? So you can kind of see some of the actions that I just recently took place right here within the demonstration. A great feature that we have enabled, or that you can enable, is the send invitation feature. So, in the event someone calls into the help desk, you can train your staff to say, hey, I'm happy to help you reset your password. By the way, I'm going to send you an invitation, and we we can send that in multiple different languages to this particular email address. You can go through a simple enrollment process, and you can reset your password on your own the next time without calling into me. So, another way to, encourage that enrollment and get a high enrollment percentage. We can look at their account information, view their mapped IDs, or unenroll that user. So if you recall, going back to the enrollment process, that third question, or that last question, is what we call the semi-private question. We can leverage this question or other questions or predefined fields from Active Directory or an SMS code or a combination thereof. It's very configurable, which I can show you here in a moment, to verify this user's identity before we actually take action on their account. So I have the third question and an SMS code set up. So I actually sent that code to that user. So I'm going to ask them to not only provide me their employee ID number, which they used during enrollment, and then I'm going to ask them to provide me the 4-digit code that was just sent to their mobile device, which was 7525. So assuming this is correct and I submit this, you'll now notice that I have some expanded capabilities to act on this particular call. I can unlock that user's account. I can change their password. So a change password is going to be very similar to a forgotten password. So the end user would actually dictate what their new password would like to be. And we can force that user to change their password on next logon. And then we also have this concept of a quick password reset, which is very popular, where we can again reset the password on all connected systems, and we can use a default password or a randomly generated password. And if we were to use a randomly generated password, again, force the user to change their password on next logon. So any questions on the help desk piece? Again, a nice feature that would allow the help desk to not have to go into each system individually to reset a password, unlock an account.
Yeah, and we can do SMTP out of this as well to log tickets?
Exactly. What's your ticketing system right now?
Hornbill, SupportWorks.
Okay, if they have SMTP integration, we're all set.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of summarizing very quickly, that's the end user experience from a self-service perspective. The help desk module, I touched on the audit log earlier. This is more of an expanded view that gives you the capability to filter and search and export. So there's some more fields for that. And then we also have the built-in reports. So over the years, we've added a lot of different reports that we have found to be very beneficial to help manage and maintain the tool. So the solution's on a .NET architecture. It's leveraging Microsoft technologies, typically spun up in a virtual server environment. So once you've got it dialed in, it's pretty self-sustaining. But what we really want to do is monitor the utilization of the tool. Not only from an ROI perspective, but are people using it? So there's a variety of different reports right here that we can leverage from a self-service perspective. Then we can look at who are those users that are still calling into the help desk. Maybe it's a specific group or division within the organization, and we just need to market to them more. What's our enrollment look like? Who's enrolled? Who's not enrolled? Let's target those users who have not. And then our email processing, different email templates and reporting on that. So really just to show, hey, we've spent this amount of money on the tool. We're really seeing our ROI. We've actually even got an ROI calculator built into the solution as well. Any questions on the audit log or reporting?
No, that's all good.
Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up here. I won't go into the full configuration, but I will spend a little bit of time on this just to kind of give you an idea so you get a general concept of how this works. These are all the different product modules within our suite here on the left-hand side. Password Station and Password Bouncer were today's focus. And really what would happen is we would assign a support engineer to help you with this initial deployment, but you would basically work your way through this center panel right here, which would be, setting up email templates. Like I said, there's a variety of email templates ranging from enrollment completion, failed attempts to answer your questions, change confirmation. There's a bunch of them, failure messages, retry success messages, as well as your password is about to expire messages. And then we can also, like I said, put them HTML enabled, adjust the subject line and message for what you would like it to read. Help desk delegation, the personnel that can use that help desk feature. The different languages that I pointed out earlier. There's 30 different languages that you can select from. And then we also give you the ability to just, use your browser settings, use a language drop down like I had showed you, or a language selection page like Starbucks was doing. We've got a license status page, basically showing you how many licenses you purchased, how many are in use. Maybe you need to add more license, or in this case, not enough people have enrolled. And then we can dynamically show, who's enrolled, who has not enrolled. And with all of these options, we actually have, you'll notice these videos and question marks. We have a wiki built into the tool where it can redirect you to YouTube videos to allow you to, gain more information on each one of those particular actions. So it's a great feature just for, understanding what each one of those means. I'll jump down here to the security tab, which is where the majority of the configuration takes place for the end user. So very simplistically, how many questions do we want to ask the end user community? 3 is the default. Maybe you guys would like 5. How many failed attempts until we unenroll that user? Let's say 4. Minimum length to your questions. We'll say 4 again. And after each one of these, sections, we simply save our changes, and that's configuring the solution. The SMS options. Well, I was using SMS or questions, and then verifying that number during enrollment. Jumping down here, I touched on the Windows-based credential provider for pre-network logon. We also have one for Mac users, which are becoming more and more prevalent within organizations. The end user display. What buttons do we want and capabilities do we want to allow for the end user community? So that again, that could range from maybe turning RSA integration on, or maybe we didn't want them to be able to unlock their accounts. We only wanted them to forget their password, for example. Many organizations expose us to the internet, so we can enable CAPTCHA. And then we have the help desk piece. So, what buttons do we want to allow and actions do we want to allow for the help desk? I was leveraging the last security question and SMS. Maybe you're only going to leverage the last security question and again, save your changes. We could, use predefined fields from Active Directory. And then, again, the buttons that we allow for them. We don't store the passwords. Those are stored on the local systems. We do store the enrollment information. By default, that's stored in the comments field of Active Directory. You could obviously select a different field if that's being used, or a separate database. And then the last part that I'll touch on is kind of the security questions. There's a variety of security questions that you can leverage out of the box, or more importantly, you can come in here and create your own question and add them to the list. The last piece here is the password bouncer tool, which is that granular level of password policy, like I said, that we can assign to different users, groups, connectors within the organization. But that ranges from minimum length, maximum length, forcing certain characters, different patterns. That we can, allow custom dictionaries, eliminating certain strings. So, really whatever you would like your users to adhere to a password policy. Any questions on that? That's quickly is what I wanted to cover in a nutshell for you. The end user experience configuration, pretty straightforward. We've had this solution out in the market since 2000, so almost 15 years. It's a very mature solution that a lot of organizations see a quick ROI on, very easy to justify. And on that note, I can kind of end it with that, with the cost savings feature that we have built into the tool for, however many employees you have in the organization, how many calls you get on an average, on a monthly basis, what percentage of those are help desk related, and how many staff you have taking those calls. And then we can identify, a cost per call, which would easily result in, your first year savings, your 3-year savings. And actually, this is pretty low. This is just the help desk cost. Gartner's actually published some reports that, on average, they've noticed that the help desk cost, the cost incurred by the help desk alone, not even the user locked out of their workstation, is close to $18 a call. So pretty easy to justifiable, and I can help you put together a slide deck presentation or a business case if you would like to with some of those metrics.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else I can answer for you right now?
No, that sounds that's exactly what I needed to see. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So, just as far as next steps, where are you at in the process? What can I do for you? I know I get provided a price range, which
Yeah, we're fairly early stages at the moment, so we're obviously looking at a number of sort of different vendors. There's a need to sort of address this both from a user point of view and from a security point of view. So it is unfortunately not one of a few projects, though. It's one of many projects that we need to address in the coming months. So I can't really put timescales on anything at the moment. Once we've sort of gathered all of this information, we're going to sort of sit round a room for several hours and thrash out what's important to us right now and what's important to us in 2, 3, 5, 6 months. So as soon as we've done that, then I'll be able to sort of come back and get a little bit more sort of into the commercials around what we may or may not need from you as a company. And assuming you can meet those, then we'll look to obviously shortlist and go through the process there. So yeah, I mean, nothing immediate. Don't sort of expect me to be on the blower to you next week, sort of placing orders or anything. But it's certainly something that we are looking to address in this calendar year.
Okay, excellent. And that's fair enough. And if you need more information, I'm happy to provide that to you. If you would like, I did remember where the video is if you want to see kind of what a call into the IVR solution would look like.
Oh, yeah.
It's very quick.
Hello, you've reached the Password Station self-service system. This system will reset your password or unlock your account after gathering your information. When you're done here, simply hang up. To authenticate with your secure ID token, press 1. To authenticate with your voice, press 2. To authenticate with your PIN, press 3. First, please key in your 10-digit office phone number with area code, followed by the pound key. Thank you. Now, please key in the 4 to 10-digit private PIN number you chose when you enrolled on the website. To reset your password, press 1. To unlock your account, press 2. Okay, here is a new password. SAD, exclamation mark, @hut. To clarify, that's SAD, spelled the following way. Uppercase S, lowercase d, and then, exclamation mark, and then, and the last part is hut, spelled the following way. Lowercase h, lowercase u, plus sign. To accept this new password, press 1. To hear it again, press 2. To decline and generate a different password, press 3. Your password has been changed. Thanks for calling. Goodbye.
So again, just another way for a user to reset their password. There's 3 options: the PIN, the voice, and the RSA. That was the PIN example.
Yeah.
And we actually have some more options from a biometric standpoint coming out down the road that we can share with you. So I know it's Friday afternoon for you, late in the day, so I do appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to moving this to the next step. And as you get more questions or need more information, just let me know.
Great stuff, lovely. Thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.